All right. Hello, everyone. I think we're here. We're out here on the wide internet, the worldwide and wild web. We are here with some
All right.
amazing.
Hello,
Oh my
everyone.
gosh! What a terrible mistake to have made. Uh, right here out the gate. But yes, we are here. We are ready to talk about building better games with DMs Guild with some of our fabulous creators who are going to share a little bit, of course, about how they got started, fears, trepidations, challenges that they conquered, and then we're going to talk a little bit about, of course, how people are able to use this content, this community-driven content on DMs Guild to, of course, build better D&D games. So let's get started with some introductions. I am Anne Richmond. I'm a marketing manager here at Roll20, and I am our moderator. So I'm going to pass it over to Imogen to get us started with the folks you're really here to see.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Imogen Gingell. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a freelance writer, designer who's been heavily involved with the Eberron community, especially as far as DMs Guild is concerned. I've also been a designer on the Cosmere RPG recently, the Stormlight and Mistborn, as well as freelancing for MCDM on their D&D and Draw Steel games. And yeah, excited to talk about DMs Guild, which has been a huge part of my career so far.
Amazing. All right, Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason, or J. Evans Payne, also known as Infinium Game Studios, although it's plural, I'm one person. I started about 10 years ago on Drive-Thru RPG and about 4 years ago on DMs Guild. I've done everything from one-shot adventures to mega adventures to NPC stuff, magic items. I have a custom campaign setting called Aqualay, which has a bunch of maps and other products. But most of what I do now is called Flextail. It's like a series of tools for DMs to generate stuff. I'm a big fan of like by the seat of your pants, no prep, like because the players are always going to screw with you and do like stuff against your expectations. So any tool that makes responding to that easier is a win in my book. So that's what I try to provide for the community. Excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. And of course, Tessa.
Hello, I'm Tessa from Tessa Presents Maps. Basically, we, me and my husband, take the campaigns from Wizards of the Coast and we read through it really carefully and we pick out what we think any potential map could be and we make them. So we make random encounters, taverns, magic shops, just basically any location we think that there could be a map.
Amazing. I'm a user of those for sure. I think I've used everyone's content on this panel at one point or another, so it's very exciting to have you here. And you know what I think we can see just from our introductions is that DMs Guild is absolutely a treasure trove of content that is created by the community for the community and set within the established lore and worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. We got them both, guys. So how have you as DMs and as players at your own tables been able to make use of DMs Guild content in your own games? Anyone can start.
I guess I can start.
Yeah.
I view it like a buffet. Like these days, if you're a DM, you should use every tool at your disposal. So there's the first party official content, there's homebrew stuff, and there's indie stuff, and the community is a great resource for that. The way I use it, I don't usually, I either run my own adventures or the stuff that's off the shelf that excites me from Wizards of the Coast. So where I go to DMs Guild is to try to find I'll read the book of the first party adventure and I'll try to find the gaps and try to anticipate, okay, well, my players are definitely going to go down this rabbit hole and there's only one map. And you know, Tessa does a great job with like finding those other pieces of content that maybe the book can't possibly address. So like, for example, I'm running Waterdeep Dragon Heist right now, And I've found a huge ton of content out there where, like City Encounters, that's the one I recommended for the bundle. Years ago, I ran Curse of Strahd, and there's a big shout out to all the people producing all the expanded content there, like behind Terra Falls and underneath Old Bone Grinder. There's it's already a huge campaign, and the community content just makes it so much richer. You know, if you take something that might run as a year, if you go to DMsGuild and expand the content, you can run it for 5 years or more if you really go exhaustively.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share a fun story or some way in which they've been using content from DMsGuild at their table?
Yeah, I think I've got a second. Jason's, treated like a buffet, because it kind of is a very delicious buffet. I don't know if I'm stretching this metaphor too far, but I think a lot of what I've done with using DMsGuild content is a huge mix of just picking out either entire adventures that interest me in new parts of the D&D campaign settings, or also just picking out sections of those, right? I might read a cool new adventure about some region of the world, and just I might have picked that up at first, but even just pulling out individual encounters or maps just to port into my own games. I have quite a lot of community content that's just kind of pick lists or short stuff that you can just pick out a table, roll a dice, and this is what we're doing. And very frequent, actually. Probably the most common stuff I've done in terms of like DMsGuild content is just if we're taking a break from our regular campaign for a week because someone's away or something like that, just rolling onto the DMsGuild, you pick up a short one-shot adventure that's someone's poured their life into for however long it's taken them to write, and then just running that and having a grand time doing it. So diving in even when we've got long-term stuff going on.
Yeah. There's so many resources on DMsGuild for one shots. There's resources for building taverns, for food, for menus. Like there's so many ways in which people have brought themselves and brought their creativity to the established lore and been able to provide tools that get you from point A to point B. I mentioned, of course, I use Tessa's maps in my Rime of the Frost Maiden game for all of my additional encounters. Everything is snow, but now that I have Tessa's map pack, it's all different snow. It all looks like a world that is multifaceted, and it made it so easy to do that. And yeah, I think that's a really wonderful thing that you can do, that you can come to DMsGuild, find an established setting like Greyhawk or Eberron or Ravenloft, and find more to build out an existing campaign, or to just take a little vacation to Barovia if you so choose. What a great vacation destination. Tessa, did you have anything on that you wanted to add in?
I feel like it's all been covered. Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of one-shots from Elizabeth Vancouvering and Hollow, and I've also worked with those people. It's a great opportunity to work with other creators, and like connect with like someone who might write a story and someone who like might make maps, and just connecting together and making a more fuller product. And yeah, I mean, we love using the community to get new ideas, to make our games wacky. I mean, they're already going to be wacky, but wackier.
Well, we do have a question from the folks who are watching live, and it's: how often and in which ways do you draw on or use popular culture to craft material on DMsGuild?
Well, yeah. I usually just go by the descriptions of the campaign for my maps, but sometimes I'll add in little things, little hidden things. Just, apparently we got some feedback once that an entire session was completely befuddled because they were like looking at the contents of a table going like, how do we figure this out? What's this got to do with everything? And I probably just put random shit on there.
Anybody else?
I
I'm.
think
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I couldn't possibly try to pretend that I never let popular culture influence the things I write. On the contrary, I think I rarely take the approach of direct conversion, but certainly I've written so much stuff that is like, I watch a TV show and it rattles around in my brain for a
Yeah.
while and then pops out something D&D. I mean, certainly if you read some of the bestiaries that I've put on the DMs Guild, especially I think the Codex Sybaris supplements I put out many years ago at this point. But some of those have some blatantly pop culture references, but with a Eberron spin on it. So
Sure.
I think there's one monster I have in there called what was it, like the Ether Claw, that is like, I'd watched the Alien movies and I was like, okay, I wanna bring this to Eberron, and I put a completely new spin on it, and now they're weird crystalline ant things that come from the plane of law. But you got to start somewhere, and I
Yeah.
think you can always find some new spin to make it unique.
That's definitely the Alien inspires so many
Yeah.
fears, genuine fears that I have, and also game material. But Jason, I know you had something you wanted to add to.
Oh yeah. So my first adventure was an urban adventure, Dark Obelisk, Baron Court, and I directly referenced Castlevania Symphony of the Night in that because it's 3 acts. One is like just urban adventure, a little side quest, that kind of thing, setting the atmosphere, and then I love the moment in Symphony of the Night, the video game, where the castle turns upside down. You think you finished the game, and all of a sudden it's the exact same game over again, except everything's inverted and you have to look at things differently. So that was a direct motif like that kind of came into the adventure because it was just so much fun playing it, and we ran it, and like that they immediately like kind of the players picked up on that. So
That's awesome.
I think pop culture, I think it just imbues everything we do, whether we realize it or not. And there's been times where I've been running an adventure that I wrote, and the players like picked up on some trope that I didn't even know I had put in there. It's like, oh yeah, of course, that was like lying under my psyche when I was writing it. So I think there tends to sometimes be an aversion to that when you're writing as a creator, to say, no, it's got to be my own, it's got to be fantasy and gritty. But ultimately, I mean, I hope your gaming tables are like this, but it's for fun, right? So if you're in the middle of an adventure and somebody drops a Tropic Thunder reference, even if you're in Ravenloft, like you can still maintain gravitas if you're at Strahd's like dining room table and still laugh for a second and go back to the nitty gritty. Don't shy away from pop culture references. Just don't make it like a direct cop. I think somebody said like a direct copy.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to mention, because we're referencing a lot of things that these creators have done, but also we're going to be calling out several other sort of favorites of ours throughout the panel. We have put together an awesome bundle for you guys that includes an item from each of our creators, as well as one that they recommend that is not something they created, and that's going to be available at a deeper discount until the end of Roll20 Con. So, Brooke, who's backstage on the 1s and 2s, if you want to make sure that gets into chat for folks to have a look at, some of the things we're going to be talking about are in that bundle as well. So let's get to our next question, which is how we've talked a little bit about DMs, obviously searching for more material, but how does DMsGuild expand player options or inspire more creativity for players?
I mean, there's tons of stuff on DMsGuild for players. You don't have to be a DM to contribute to the game, guys. There's like character options and crafting stuff and like bastions you can put together and stuff like that. Don't be shy, get on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think on that point as well, there's not necessarily it says there. Not necessarily just looking at player options like directly, and I'm looking for subclasses or spells or magic items. There's a ton of really great stuff like that. But there's a lot of community content as well that expands on the world in interesting ways, which you can build into your character's backstory or aesthetic, or it's about finding inspiration for the way you present your character in ways that you might not have thought about before. Um, and I would really encourage people not to kind of feel tied to the canon of what just comes out in the official source books. But there's so much good stuff that people have spent a long time thinking about for their own games that could be good on your character. I mean, one thing I'm
Yeah.
thinking about here is there's a supplement called Textiles of Eberron by Rebecca Gray that is all about fashion for characters in Eberron. And the look of one's character is so important to, I think, a lot of how people engage with the game. So, find the world building things as well is my advice.
Yeah, there's a lot of great setting guides. I'm thinking of for more within the last year, we had a ton come out from Joe Block for Greyhawk. So if you're looking to explore some of those campaign hooks in the new D&D 2024 DMG, they've got a lot of sort of, I guess, bedrock, for you to build, use as a foundation for character creation as well. Joe, Jason, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't know if it's really in the spirit of the question, but I feel as though the more content, the more adventures or tools, the more stuff that a player reads and is familiar with, the more efficient they're going to be as a player. And I mean like not in combat pausing and checking the rules and just knowing what to do, but also getting a sense of the tropes of adventure design and game design to know where you spend your time, where it's meaningful. Like you don't spend an hour searching every room for secret doors. You know that like this hallway probably doesn't have it. And I also think that the more as a forever DM, and statistically there's a lot of you out there watching, I love it when I get to be a player. And I think the more players interact with community content on DMsGuild, there's a chance of them saying, oh, that's really cool, I want to run that. And then that's a kind of gateway drug into them becoming a DM. So I think that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
Following up on that, there was a question that says, as a relatively new player, what's the best way to dive into using these tools and stuff? Honestly, I think as a new player or DM, one of the best things you can do is just watch other people stream. Just, even if it's just Critical Role or Dimension 20 or your favorite, French streamer, who doesn't matter, just whoever, because watching other people stream gives you ideas on how to roleplay, how to get into the mindset of your character, how to utilize your abilities and your spells better. Like, it's so much fun to be able to watch other people play the game and to get ideas on how to do it. And I find that's one of the easiest ways to introduce new people. It's like, all right, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch Dimension 20's Blood Castle, whatever it's called, the
Blood Keep.
the Blood Keep, the Lord of the Rings one, because everyone knows Lord of the Rings, and it's such a good way of like getting them to kind of get the idea in their brain of what D&D could be like.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into, I mean, you are all a part of why this incredible content exists. And every creator has an origin story, a villain origin story. But what is the moment that you realized you truly wanted to publish something for D&D? Like, what was happening in your life that made you decide, like, this is it, I'm going to do this?
Well, you've got Curse of Strahd Overkill as an icon there, so maybe I'll lead things off. About 4 years ago, it was the pandemic, and there was a lot going on in my life. It was kind of a low point, and my gaming group had just finished our campaign, and I practically begged the players, look, can we please do Ravenloft? I've collected every soft and hardcover book ever published short of the novels, and I've never, across 30 years, somehow never run anything Ravenloft. And they were excited about it too. And I went overboard. I went obsessive and excessive. I created like dozens of different letters, because we all were far flung, and which is why Roll20 is such a huge asset. So there's people all over the country, and we came together in person to launch the game. So I gave them these little treasure chests, and each one had little trinkets and custom magic coins. I printed dozens of letters on parchment paper, sealed them with wax, and each NPC, they were from characters in the game, and each one had its own seal. So if you were smart, you could say, oh, all of these are from Irina. And then in the game, on Roll20 months later, when we were far flung, I'd be like, open D12, and they'd be like, oh. And it was a cool way to connect physically. I had like a soundtrack from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I went just crazy. And then it was a great campaign. We had a blast. But a month in, I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, I went overboard. I know that there's other people out there like me who, especially for this campaign, there's just something about it. I think Ravenloft engenders like a really excessive mentality, because it is so gothic and bloody and just crazy. If I needed this, and somebody else referenced this, DMsGuild is chock full of solutions that other people have come up with to problems that you are likely to have. So I figured, I'll spend a couple hours here and there, and I'll formalize it, and maybe it's something that other people would find useful. And that it's that moment, I think, as a creator, if you are watching this and you're not yet a creator, if you are a DM, chances are you've been in that moment for yourself, that like you've made something, you've solved a problem that your players created, or like that fell short in an adventure you're running. You owe it to, you don't owe it, but like the community can only be, all of us, better for you publishing it. And I personally want to see that idea in a way that I can use as well, because I've already benefited from it, from these creators and others.
Absolutely. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything? We're almost at halfway, so I do want to keep going unless anybody has any other.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and keep it short.
Yeah.
So my husband is the DM of the family. I'm not a DM. And it was coming to his birthday, and I wanted to write him a secret one-shot that he had absolutely no idea was coming. And so I wanted to make a map that was digital, because I didn't want to leave anything around the house that he could find. So I was like trolling the internet on map making programs, and finally landed on Dungeon Draft, which I love. And I surprised him, and it was amazing, and he had such a great time. And he was like, this map is awesome, you should make them for the campaign we're running right now. So I was like, okay, just tell me what you need, just give me the description with nothing other content, because I'm a player and I don't want to know what's coming up. And he did. And then he was like, all right, after we'd finished, he's like, all right, we're doing Frostmaiden, can you make every map we're going to need, just in case? And so I did. And then at the end, he was like, we should put these online, I reckon other people would like these. And that's kind of how I started.
Amazing. It's so funny how I always say I pick a captain for different things at the table, because I'm lazy as a dungeon master. So like I have a music captain, I have an almonds captain, all these different people to do stuff. But I love the idea of a map captain for the table, and that just became, your path. That's so cool. And Imogen, do you have a villain origin story you want to share?
I suppose like it kind of started for me. I mean, flashback to the distant past of 2004, which is when I really got started making D&D content just for the internet. So this was when Eberron was released, and I was quite closely involved with I don't know, I started making a monster a week to just put on the Wizards of the Coast forums at the time. And then, over the third edition kind of lifespan of the game, I built up, I think it was 150 monsters by the time I was done. So then I kept that up a bit through fourth edition and early fifth edition. But what really kind of turned that into, actually now I want to do it, properly as a DMsGuild thing, was in part because I'd played a part in founding a really excellent, friendly, lovely Discord community for the Eberron campaign setting. And just as that was kind of in its first year, I think, of being alive, the DMs Guild released Eberron as a campaign setting you can now publish for on DMs Guild. And suddenly everyone was excited, and I was excited, and it was like, right, let's get all this updated to the new edition. Let's get it on the DMs Guild. And yeah, I think that appearance of Eberron on the DMs Guild has done so much for the Eberron community as a whole.
Yeah.
And it was a really exciting time. So it's not really a villainous origin story, but I don't know. Considering I moderate that Discord community, maybe I am the villain.
Maybe it was me the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, we've touched on why it's great to use DMsGuild to publish, but I think we'll kind of speed through this one just because the biggest benefit, of course, is being able to publish within these established worlds that we all know and love from across the D&D cinematic universe. Not literally the cinematic universe, but from across all of these different settings, classic entries into the canon from various editions. Adventurers League, which was a program, originally built around people being able to show up at the game store and pick up and build a character that progressed through a story in a more, I guess, like a more week to week program setting run by stores primarily and at conventions and things like that. And having all that content on DM's Guild too is really wonderful because it's been balanced and tested and really gone through the ringer on it. And so the fact that anyone from somebody who's working in relationship with wizards to write and publish like for the Adventurers League program, down to you sitting at home and saying, I'm going to start making maps for this game, can publish on DM's Guild. And that, I think, is the biggest thing. As far as getting started, I think there's a sense of fear sometimes about that. What was the most scary thing about taking that first step, and what made you glad you did it?
The people on the internet and their varying opinions. Yeah, I got the perfect solution for it though. I make my husband deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Solid. We'll all tuck that one away.
Yeah, it's a good point that like the people on the internet is the scariest thing. I mean, that's true of any creative project. Is that when you share it with people, there's that moment where you're like, are they gonna like it? Give you the validation.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you don't hit the mark with some people. Sometimes you do. It's always terrifying to. Well, it's that moment of anticipation. But I think it's always worth trying anyway, right? It is terrifying the first few times when you put on something. You're waiting to see if reviews are going to come in. You're waiting to see people on, Discord or Reddit or Blue Sky or wherever talking about it.
Yeah.
You can't control that, and that's kind of scary. But even if, in my experience at least, and maybe this is touching on a future question as well, but the vast majority of discussion and feedback that you get from these things is constructive. And if it's not constructive, there's usually like you can still learn something from it. And even if you have to distance yourself from it if it's not great feedback, because sometimes feedback isn't great, but you can still, pick something out of that. So yeah, I think the terrifying thing is learning to deal with that feedback, but it is always positive in the end. eventually.
I think it's funny that these two examples are on the slide. I've hit make public. I've published probably like almost 200 times. My heart stops still every single time, because it's that moment where like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's out there now. I echo what you said, Imogen, that like I don't, if critique is accurate, it can only help us be better. So that's, I don't worry about people not liking it. My psychology professor in undergrad once said that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's ambivalence. And I don't fear a lot of negative feedback, because if you have a strong opinion, that means you read it and you evaluated it and you can help me be better. That's great. These two examples are perfect. So I have a whole bunch of stuff that's been wildly successful beyond what I thought, and this is an adamantine bestseller. And then this other one I published, the Artifact Command Word Toolkit, I published it earlier this year. I thought it was a great idea. I thought it should be part of the Dungeon Master's Guide. I thought every single campaign, no matter what the theme or the setting, could benefit from it. And it's a cool set of like almost old school Grognard rules. It's really cool. It's not even copper bestseller. So like you're gambling as adults. Like, time is the most precious thing that we have. And as creators, you're kind of gambling with your time in a way every time you hit publish. But to your point, like it's always worth it. Like I'd rather have stuff that sells 20 copies out there than something that might have sold 5,000 still rattling around in my brain. Like It's always worth it to publish. It's always worth it to put it out there. And again, like I hope that as a result of this conversation, there's somebody in the comments or chat who's on the fence or on the edge, and this conversation is like, oh, maybe I'll give it a try. And like, there's going to be something great from those people that we're going to see in the next year.
And the one thing I wanted to point out here is that sometimes people are afraid to do something because they think they have to write like a whole adventure. There are people putting out just encounters at a time. Like you don't have to bite off more than you can chew. You can really start with something that you're comfortable with, and then go from there and learn from the feedback, as these fine folks have said, and continue to develop over time. You don't. I'm guessing, Tessa, that you didn't just take an adventure and go, I'm going to do all the maps that aren't in the book for this entire adventure as your first step at.
No, I pretty much did.
Just kidding.
Yeah, sorry. Did 140 maps for Frostmaiden, and that was my first thing.
I love that I was like, my assumption 100% wrong. And sometimes you do dive all the way in, and that is okay too. But you can find whichever solution works for you if you're on the fence about publishing with DMsGuild.
Yeah, I will say, just to support your point there, Anne, my first DMsGuild product was just I think a 4 or 5 page bundle that just had 3 warlock subclasses in it, and it got me excited to do more. So yeah, the smaller approach also works.
Well, we have a couple questions specifically for different people on the panel. So I'm gonna keep the spotlight here on Imogen for a second. What do you think makes the most compelling type of DMsGuild product? Obviously, this is going to vary from person to person, but for you.
Yeah, I think so. For me, and I think these 3 that are illustrated here are kind of examples of the 2 points I'd like to make on this point. So the first thing, in terms of what I find most compelling to find and what I find most fun to write as well, is the kind of rules that won't get published elsewhere. And by that, I mean, so I put the School of Geometry down in the bottom left corner of this. And that was a supplement I put out a few years ago that contained just one single wizard subclass, the School of Geometry. But it contains a whole subsystem about drawing mathematical graphs to gain power in your magic. So it ends up with a subsystem that is quite simple, but takes a fair amount to explain. And there are a bunch of diagrams and examples and that kind of thing. And it's the kind of product that you would not see published in an official Wizards of the Coast book, not because it's bad, but because there are different considerations when you're putting together like a hardcover book for a wide audience versus something like the DMs Guild, you can put together a niche product for a narrow audience. And that lets you really narrow down on something you love to create and that can be a little bit off the wall. The other two examples I have here are about finding, and this is tying into IP as well. So as a DMs Guild creator, you have access uniquely to the campaign settings for D&D. So these two examples here are for taking a part of a setting that has been underexplored for whatever reason in the canon and turning it into a playground of your own imagining or building on the canon that's already there. So I wrote Escape from Riedra is a module that was at the time of publishing the first and only adventure published for the Salona continent in Eberron. So that was really cool to do. It's one of my favorites as well. Check it out. The Giant's Guide to Zendrick is not my product, just what I want to shout out as being really cool. But it's a real deep dive into Zendrick, another continent on Eberron that hasn't had as much canon exploration, and takes a kind of new, refreshing look at some of the bits of lore that have been explored, some of the bits that haven't, updates them for 5e. I really like that as well. So check that one out.
And then Tessa, I wanted to ask you, because you're here in a unique sort of position on the panel as somebody who's bringing like a visual element to the game that's tied to IP. So what IP, intellectual property for the uninitiated. So what makes it so unique to be able to put maps specifically in the world of D&D for you?
Well, when you're reading the official module and they have an insanely detailed explanation of the room, and then the map doesn't have that, or there's no map at all, what I really wanted to do was have that map for the player, for the DM who wanted the map. And there's always going to be a player who turns to the DM and he says, I'm going to fireball the library assistant, and I want the DM to be able to go, you know what, here's the map, roll for initiative. I just wanted every map that anyone could possibly need. You're not going to use every map in the pack, that's fine. You might want more maps from other packs that I've done because you're expanding more, that's also good. I just want every possible scenario that you could possibly need a map to have one if you need it. That's kind of my approach.
Yeah. And I, as your clientele, I can say it's really great to be able to feel that freedom and also have the maps in Roll20 versions of the product. So you can either order them just like with grids and without for use however you want, or you can get specifically the Roll20 map pack and it will load it up right there as an add-on, and everything is all organized, which I love.
So my product, you can we have instructions on how to print in both American sizes and international sizes. It has information on how to upload it into non-D20 like Foundry, and how to upload it into other things, I think. Or if not, you can reach out to us and ask, how do I put it on some other program? It's like, well, we'll figure it out together. And yeah, so if you are on Roll20, you can just click on it and it's all there. We'll load it up. We put everything in it. It's awesome.
It's pretty great. Awesome. And then I want to turn this around to Jason, because there are so many wonderful DMs Guild listings for the 2014 rule set we've all known and loved for the past a little more than 10 years at this point. For those who prefer it, it is not going anywhere. But with a new and somewhat backwards compatible rule set from Wizards, what tools are available to players who are looking to update their existing campaigns, and to DMsGuild creators who want to somewhat efficiently update the material they already have to be more compatible and more challenging within a 2024 rule set?
So, I mean, I'm sure that's the reason I'm speaking with you lovely folks today, here today, as the 2014 to 2024 conversion guide. So I think I love what Wizards has done with the new version. For those who have been playing for a while, I feel it's very similar to what happened with 3.0 and 3.5x, whatever you want to call it, that they don't break it if it's not well, don't fix it if it's not broken. They tweaked a couple things here and there. They evolved it. It's an evolutionary, not a revolutionary kind of update. I think that there are people out there that have an adherence to rigor and a desire to have the crunch fall in line. So those people, like people out there, if that's your preference, what I wrote is a guide. I kind of assumed that there would be something official out there. I feel as though it would have really helped. But also, it's not strictly necessary. So as much as, what I should say is go out and buy the 2014 2024 conversion guide. I'm going to self-harm here and say, it's not necessary. You don't really need to. If you pick up something that's 2014 and you're running a 2024 game, there's stuff that you could change, but if you run it almost as is, nobody's going to be lost. Nobody's going to be confused, in my view. And I, as a consumer, I think if you're looking for cool stuff out there on DMsGuild, you should evaluate it based on how it excites you and how you feel that you're going to use it in your game. And obviously that applies to maps because there's no conversion necessary for maps, probably. Like maybe you add a couple more monsters or something. But I think before you run something that you buy on DMsGuild, you should be aware, I feel, whether the author has written it for 2024 or not, has updated it for 2024. If there's an updated version, there's going to be creators out there that have that adherence to rigor or that are significant in size. The kind of not so indie publishers, they have the resources and the attention to bring their stuff up to speed. But for the rest of it, don't rule it out if it's 2014. Like you said, it's not going anywhere. You shouldn't, as a consumer or as somebody who's looking to build on the work of others, you should it's not the exact same thing, but you should treat it as the same kind of resource pool, in my view. And I think that's to the credit of Wizards making a really good call with not changing a great deal. That which has been changed, if you're looking to make that process as easy as possible, I feel the conversion guide is kind of like the lost appendix of the DMG that might help you get there. But as long as you're creating, don't let the fact that it is a difference stand in the way of buying or creating, in my view, would be my counsel.
Awesome. Good counsel. Thank you for approaching the bench. I did want to take a moment here to chat about let's gas up those creators in the chat here. What's the one thing that you wish somebody had told you at the start?
So when I did Frostmaiden, I had, in the very first publish of it, an extra 40 maps that were recreations of the official maps, and it was taken down and it was a lot of stress because I had to remove them all. So this is my biggest advice: read the license. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely read the license, and we also have folks on hand. You can always write in and ask questions. They're here to help you figure out what you are and are not allowed to do. Yeah. Imogen, Jason, anything on that score?
I feel like I might just re-shout out a point. Not necessarily a thing to look out for in the same way as Tessa said. Just to restate the point of words of encouragement about getting something on there and not stressing too much about the very first thing you putting out being like your perfect magnum opus, because if you're not careful, you'll I don't know, spend too long on something that's not gonna. I know. Well, as Tessa's point, you learn lessons as you put things out, and you don't want to have not learned the lessons by the time you do get around to doing your magnum opus, right?
Yeah.
So try putting out a few small things first, so you can build momentum in that way.
Yeah. From the business world, one of my favorite little idioms or mantras is don't let great be the enemy of good. Like nobody's perfect. I love Wizards of the Coast. I love first party published adventures. I have thousands of books, as my wife will attest to, and I have yet to see one that's perfect. Like perfection, Wizards is not going to be perfect, nor should they be. We're not, as creators, going to be perfect. I still want to see your stuff. I still want to buy your stuff, and I still want to put stuff out there.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that I would say, embrace the intellectual property. Little bit of trivia. I used to play Warhammer 40,000 a lot. And yeah, I thought I saw like a Citadel paint station back there. I actually wrote the Battle Bible for 2nd edition, which is a compendium of rules at the time. Games Workshop, who publishes Warhammer, was none too pleased, and their lawyers were pleased because they were going to get paid to attack me. I lawyered up. I learned about intellectual property law. So that topic is very close to my heart. And what DMsGuild, I mean, I published Waterdeep Dragon Heist this week, and I quoted dozens of trademark terms. I referenced hundreds of copyrighted things that Ed Greenberg has owned for decades. And instead of DMsGuild coming to my door with lawyers, they provided a platform and tools and guides to help me put it out there and even make money off of it potentially.
Yeah.
Not to praise unduly, but like I literally can't think of any kind of community creator relationship regarding intellectual property in any industry that's anything close to this. It is really unparalleled, and you can focus on what you feel you do best and leverage the rest. If you don't want to world build, but you have a really cool idea for an encounter, set it in Waterdeep, set it in Neverwinter. Why the heck not? Like you can leverage decades of lore, hundreds, if not thousands of products that are out there, and an instant connection to millions of people who have played Forgotten Realms adventures or Eberron adventures or Planescape adventures. Like embrace it, lean into it, because it is what the license provides for. I think Tessa's very right. Read that license to make sure you're doing right by it. But it's really just an amazing resource to take advantage of. Yeah.
And this is, I know we've had at least one person ask like what advice you have for new creators, but those are really some great jumping off points, things to know. And then of course, just the go for it, right? We mentioned miniatures. It's like you don't get better at painting or creating encounters or any of this until you've done something start to finish. And so if you can go the route of making hundreds of maps for a particular campaign, but if you want to try to do something smaller at first, like there's no harm in just understanding the process in that way. And to that end, we talked about like getting started and fears and stuff like that. But what is the work that you are most proud of on DMsGuild, and why does it matter to you personally?
I think that I could maybe kick off on this one,
Mm-hmm.
and I could just hold this up. Here is probably my favorite thing that I've contributed to on the DMsGuild at the moment. And the reason is this is a huge hardcover book, right? It's a hardcover Eberron book with Keith Baker, with my name on it. And if that isn't a cool thing to have on my shelf, then what what else is there going to be on the DMsGuild? But also multiple hardcovers on the DMsGuild. Eberron is cool. But yeah, it was really special to have my name on an Eberron hardcover with Keith Baker. So that's my answer.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Jason.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's right there. Aquile, Western Realm Gazetteer. It's my kind of homebrew brewed realm campaign setting that's been knocking around since middle school. I've always wanted to put it down on paper and never thought that I would be able to dream and do that. For years, since starting publishing on DriveThru, I kind of had this notion that I was going to do it, but it just felt too daunting. And as with everything I do, it started this big and it became this big. It's 840 pages. It's literally as big a doorstep. 841. You can't print it on Lightning Source, so it's as big as it can possibly be. It has 64,000 square miles. It's like Europe. It's 1,800 points of interest, 1,200 cities. It's just, who does this, right? But like I still pick it up. It's in my living room. I should have brought it up here because I'm just like holding that up. It's holding it up. It's holding something up that you can be proud of. I still like look through it and I'm like, I flip to a random page and I'm like, oh, I want to run an adventure in that city or in that continent. And that's I think what I want to do is to create stuff that I would want to buy myself. I want to put stuff out there that middle school me would have saved his allowance for at the local game shop. And the local game shop is this huge treasure trove of other people's work. All those other people with allowances in their soul are now putting stuff out there, and we can go and be proud of it together. And that's the best thing. I love picking up something that somebody else has done, like Tessa's Maps. Like that is, thank you. Tessa's Maps make me want to run the adventure that they're set in. And like one of my I get frustrated as a DM when I buy something off the shelf, especially as a first party book, and there's no map for this scene or this story point. And it's an instant semaphore to the players how important or unimportant that is. But if you have a map for it, they can't tell, right? So and my lovely family brought it up. This is the massive book. So
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, family, for your support.
Usable to defeat intruders if they break into your home. You can just kind of
Yeah, that's another great use for an 800-page hardcover for sure. And Tessa, how about you?
This is going to be cheesy. I'm really proud of everything I've done, but I think the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that each and every single map pack I do, I get better. I learn so much more. I figure out something that I hadn't figured out previously, and I make it better. I add more assets. They just become richer. We listen to the community, because when we did Frostbane, they were 2A3 pages wide, and so the community was like, can you make them bigger? So now they're 4A pages wide, A4 pages, or letter, or no, legal. I don't know, the bigger one for Americans. Yeah. Sorry. You guys just go to the normal system.
I understand.
But yeah, I love how much I learn with each and every single one. But I'll tell you the one that I had the most fun with.
Yes.
Spelljammer. That was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Wacky ships in space. And I can bring it out. Hold on.
She's on the run, everybody. And she's gone.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Whoops. See? They're real. They're a thing.
Yeah. And it's great that people can, again, like our motto always is play your way. And with DMsGuild, creators are so thoughtful to give you multiple ways, gridded, ungridded. You're able to print them out and have them on a physical table. And that's really wonderful. It's great that we have PDFs available. We have print on demand for some titles. We also have, the ability to purchase for Roll20, which we've already discussed, right? So there are lots of ways to make this content work for you. And there's lots of ways, even if something isn't converted for the Roll20 VTT, to port parts of it in and get it set up. It's really not too hard at all to do that. And then as far as I went backwards by accident. Here we are. We did it. As far as if you're looking for where to start with DMsGuild, as we said, we put together a great bundle of items that have been either created by the members of this panel or recommended by them. And we thank them so much for, of course, agreeing to come and chat with us today, and for being willing to make those things available to you, and of course to the other creators who are a part of this bundle for agreeing to be highlighted and spotlighted in this way. If you're looking for just like a great bundle to get started with DMsGuild, you're going to have a good time with everything that's in here. And the other announcement that we have is there is no better time than right now to jump into creating on DMsGuild, because we are excited to announce that we are going to have a game jam in the month of October. We are going to invite the community to create and submit Baldur's Gate themed content from October 1st to November 2nd. This is the perfect opportunity for both new and established creators to dive into the action. We're going to host workshops with some familiar faces on this panel. We are going to host workshops and activities throughout this month to support the process. So if you're somebody who needs like a buddy, we have a Discord community that is set up that you can opt into on the drive-through and Roll20 Discord for you. Just say you're there for the DMsGuild Game Jam, and you will get into it with everybody. And there's an announcement right now on the Roll20 blog, so you can go ahead and have a read about it, learn even more about the rules and everything that's going to be on offer. We will provide lots more information leading up to the event, which officially kicks off October 1st, but you can get started now. No time like the present, especially if you're feeling the inspiration from this panel. I know I am. So we cannot wait to see what you create in Baldur's Gate. What a fantastic location. And let's also just take a moment here to officially thank our panelists for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been an honor.
If people wanted to follow you or keep up with your work, where would be the best way to do that? I'm going to start with Imogen, and then we'll go down from there.
So you can follow me on Blue Sky at ILGingell, GINGELL, or see my portfolio on my website, which is imogen.space. I'm also running a Kickstarter right now for Journeymon, which is a monster trainer role playing. So you can find that at journeymonrpg.com. And that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Jason?
I'm old school, so I have a Facebook page for my company, Infinium Game Studio, facebook.com/Infinium Game Studio, but also on DMsGuild and DriveThruRPG is probably where I do most of my communication via just publishing stuff.
Awesome. Tessa?
Mostly on Reddit, but we also have a Facebook and an X. If you just type Tessa Maps or Tessa Presents Maps into Google, you'll find me.
There we go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to be hosting these panels throughout all of the Roll20Con month, and to see you at the end of the month to play some games. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.